What if I told you that one single decision, made in a moment of incredible courage, could rewrite history forever? Imagine a woman, unknown, overlooked, and underestimated, whose bravery in a critical moment saved an entire nation from certain destruction. But who was she, and what exactly did she do to become one of the most remarkable heroes in Israel's history? More importantly, could her courageous act inspire you to overcome fear and step boldly into your own purpose? In this video, you'll uncover the shocking truth behind this woman's bold decision and the incredible impact it had on Israel's future. You'll discover how one courageous act can ripple through generations, changing lives forever, including yours. Have you ever felt paralyzed by fear or wondered if your life really matters? Could it be that this ancient story holds the exact lesson you need to transform your faith, courage, and destiny today? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear isn't just history, it's a powerful message meant for you. And before we dive in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Let's spread this inspiring story to everyone who needs courage and hope today. In the time of Jael, Israel was under the harsh oppression of the Canaanites, specifically King Jabin, who ruled from Hazor, and his general, Sisera. The Israelites were suffering greatly under their control. Sisera had a powerful army, and the Israelites had no way to defend themselves. The situation was dire, and the people of Israel were crying out to God for deliverance. At this moment, the leadership of the Israelites was under the command of Barak, but he needed someone bold and courageous to bring about a victory. God had already promised that Israel would be delivered, but the challenge was great. Jael's story becomes crucial at this moment of oppression. She was a woman living in the tented community, the wife of Heber the Kenite, who had made a peace alliance with the Canaanites. Despite this alliance, Jael saw the injustice and cruelty of Sisera's actions. When Sisera fled the battlefield, Jael offered him shelter, unknowingly setting the stage for the dramatic turn of events. Jael's courage in a time of crisis would prove to be the tipping point for Israel's victory. If we turn to the story of Esther, the context is set in the Persian Empire, where the Jews faced an entirely different threat. King Xerxes ruled over a vast empire, and the Jews were scattered within it. Esther, a Jewish woman, had become queen, though her heritage was hidden. This hidden identity became a crucial factor in her involvement when the evil Haman, an official in the king's court, plotted to destroy all the Jews. The king's decree was final, and the Jewish people faced the very real threat of annihilation. Esther's story is filled with tension, as she had to make a life-or-death decision. She had the power to influence the king, but to approach him without an invitation was a death sentence. She had everything to lose but chose to risk it all for her people. Her courage and position as queen allowed her to confront the king and Haman, turning the tide for the Jewish people. This moment was crucial, as the fate of the entire Jewish population depended on Esther's willingness to act. Both stories, whether of Jael or Esther, highlight moments of great risk where the leaders of Israel were tested in their faith and courage. These challenges were not only physical but also spiritual, as the survival of Israel depended on God's people stepping up in times of danger. Jael and Esther's acts of bravery were critical in ensuring Israel's survival, and their willingness to act changed the course of history. These stories show us that, when God's people rise to the occasion, extraordinary things can happen, even in the face of overwhelming odds. In both the stories of Jael and Esther, we witness two women making courageous decisions that would change the course of Israel's history. Jael's bold decision occurred when she took action against Sisera, the general of the Canaanite army. After Sisera fled the battlefield, he sought refuge in Jael's tent. Jael could have easily ignored the situation, but instead, she made the courageous decision to kill Sisera, ending the threat to Israel's future. With a single act, she shifted the momentum of the battle in favor of the Israelites. Esther's act of courage, on the other hand, was just as momentous but took a different form. Esther, as the queen of Persia, had the ability to influence the king, but to approach him without an invitation could have resulted in her execution. Despite the great personal risk, Esther decided to act on behalf of her people. She requested that the Jews fast and pray, and then she approached King Xerxes, boldly inviting him to a banquet where she would reveal Haman's plot to destroy the Jews. In doing so, she defied the strict laws of the Persian court and risked her life to protect her people. Both women faced immense personal risks. For Jael, the danger was immediate. Sisera was the commander of the enemy's army, and by killing him, she not only angered the Canaanites but also put herself and her family at risk. However, she understood that her courage was necessary for the survival of her people. For Esther, the personal risk was just as high. As queen, she held power, but breaking royal protocol by approaching the king without his summons could have led to her execution. Esther was risking her life to stand up for the Jews and to undo a decree that had already been issued. The impact of their courageous actions was profound. Jael's decision to kill Sisera was a turning point in the battle between Israel and Canaan. By eliminating their greatest enemy's leader, she allowed the Israelites to defeat the Canaanite army and reclaim their freedom. This act led to 40 years of peace in Israel, marking a major victory for the Israelites over their oppressors. Jael's courage helped secure the safety and future of Israel, demonstrating that a single brave act can have lasting consequences. Esther's courageous decision saved an entire nation from annihilation. Her bravery in confronting the king and exposing Haman's evil plan led to the king reversing his decree and saving the Jewish people. The story of Esther is celebrated every year during the Jewish holiday of Purim, which commemorates the deliverance of the Jews from the threat of destruction. Esther's decision changed the course of history for her people and proved that courage, even in the face of grave danger, can lead to deliverance and victory. Both women, through their acts of bravery, made a lasting impact on Israel's history and demonstrated how courageous actions can transform the future. The immediate results of Jael's courageous action were striking. By killing Sisera, she not only ended the immediate threat to Israel but also dramatically shifted the tide of the conflict. With the leader of the enemy forces eliminated, the Canaanites lost their coordination and morale. This led to a decisive victory for the Israelites, who were then able to defeat the rest of the Canaanite army. Jael's bravery directly contributed to Israel's liberation and the restoration of peace for a period of 40 years. Esther's courage also brought about immediate and transformative results. By risking her life to approach King Xerxes, she exposed Haman's plot to annihilate the Jewish people, which caused the king to reverse his decree. As a result, the Jews were saved from destruction. Esther's actions led to the establishment of a new decree that allowed the Jews to defend themselves and ultimately triumph over their enemies. In both cases, these acts of bravery resulted in the salvation and security of Israel, changing the course of their history. The long-term impact of both women's courage was significant. Jael's actions led to a period of peace in Israel that lasted for 40 years, offering the Israelites a time of stability after their victory over the Canaanites. This peace allowed Israel to rebuild and strengthen itself. In Esther's case, her boldness not only saved her people but also set a precedent for Jewish survival and resilience throughout history. Her story became a cornerstone of Jewish identity, celebrated annually during the festival of Purim. Both Jael and Esther left legacies of courage that have been remembered for generations. Jael's story has been passed down as an example of standing up for what is right, even at great personal risk. She showed that a single courageous action can have the power to shift the balance of power and lead to a greater good. Esther's story also remains a powerful symbol of courage and faith. Her decision to act on behalf of her people, despite the personal risks, continues to inspire countless individuals to take bold steps in the face of danger. The legacy of both Jael and Esther continues to resonate today. Their stories are reminders of how courage can change the course of history and how standing up for what is right, even in the face of fear, can make a lasting impact. In both ancient Israel and modern times, these women serve as role models for bravery, faith, and leadership, and their examples continue to encourage people to take action in moments of crisis. Their legacies live on as symbols of courage, strength, and unwavering faith. The story of these courageous women teaches us valuable lessons about bravery and standing up for what is right. Both Jael and Esther faced life-and-death situations, and yet they chose to act boldly, putting the needs of their people above their own safety. They remind us that sometimes courage is required to make a difference. In our own lives, when faced with challenges or injustices, we can take inspiration from their examples and choose to act with strength, even when the odds seem against us. When reflecting on their stories, we must ask ourselves, what would I do if faced with a life-or-death decision like these women faced? How would we respond if we had to take a stand for what is just, even when there is a risk to our own well-being? Their stories challenge us to evaluate how we might act when the stakes are high, and how we can demonstrate courage in our everyday lives, whether it's standing up for others, making difficult moral choices, or pursuing what is right despite fear. One key takeaway from their actions is the importance of boldness in times of need. There will always be moments in our lives where we must make tough decisions, whether in our personal relationships, our careers, or our communities. Just as Jael and Esther acted when it mattered most, we too can summon the courage to face the challenges ahead. Their courage encourages us to not shy away from difficult situations, but to rise to the occasion with strength and determination. In the face of adversity, we can look to these women for guidance. Let's take their example to heart and choose courage when it's required. This means not only standing up for ourselves but also for others, especially when it could make a significant difference. Just like Jael and Esther, we are capable of making a lasting impact in the world around us when we act with integrity and bravery. Finally, I encourage you, as viewers, to reflect on how you can be courageous in your own life. Think about the times when you may have hesitated to take a stand or when you felt fear holding you back. Let the courage of these women inspire you to move forward, to act decisively, and to choose what is right, even when it seems difficult. Be brave and make a difference, just as they did. In conclusion, the courageous act of this woman was pivotal in changing the course of Israel's history. Whether it was Jael's decisive action in defeating Sisera or Esther's brave intervention to save the Jewish people, these acts of courage brought about significant outcomes. This one woman's courage not only saved her people but also set a lasting example of bravery that continues to inspire us today. Her actions remind us that even in the face of great risk, doing what is right can lead to powerful change. Now, think about your own life. How can we make courageous choices in our daily lives to bring about positive change, just like she did? We all face situations where we have the opportunity to act boldly, whether in standing up for others, making difficult decisions, or pursuing what is right despite fear. The example of these women challenges us to ask ourselves how we can embrace courage in our own lives. I encourage you to reflect on the lessons learned from their stories. The courage these women demonstrated was not just in extraordinary circumstances but can also be applied in the everyday challenges we face. Whether big or small, each decision that reflects courage can create a ripple effect, just like their actions did in history. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on powerful biblical stories and the lessons they teach. By sharing these stories, we can help others learn and be encouraged to live with more courage and strength in their own lives. Let's keep the conversation going and explore how we can apply these lessons to make a difference in our world. Thank you for watching. As you go about your day, remember to embrace the courage that lies within you. Whether you're facing personal challenges or opportunities to stand up for others, let the bravery of these women inspire you to make bold, positive choices.